All right. Get ready to dive deep, everyone. We've got excerpts from Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking this time.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, these chapters are fascinating.
They really are.
We've got try prayer power and I don't believe in defeat.
Yeah.
Stuff that sounds seriously life-changing.
It's pretty incredible how Peale was talking about this stuff decades ago.
Right.
I mean, like, we're just rediscovering it now with all this new research on positive psychology.
Yeah.
He was onto something.
Totally. He totally was.
It's like he understood that connection between what we think and what actually happens in our lives.
Absolutely. So, like, what's the main idea here? Like, what's the core concept?
Well, Peale basically says we can change our lives by changing how we think.
Okay.
He calls it eliminating negative thoughts and replacing them with, like, faith-based affirmations. It's like rewiring your brain for success, you know?
Oh, interesting. I like that. And, he illustrates this with a story about a guy, a 40-year-old guy.
Oh, right.
Who is, like, super discouraged.
Oh, yeah.
And battling all these feelings of inferiority. Can you imagine feeling that way for years and years?
Yeah, it's tough.
It's rough.
It is.
So what does Peale tell him to do?
Well, he tells him to get rid of all those I can't messages running through his head and start saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Wow. Okay.
And the amazing thing is, the guy walks away feeling totally different, like lighter, like a weight has been lifted.
Just from changing his thoughts.
Just from that.
That's a powerful mental shift.
It is. It really is.
It's like we get so used to those negative thought loops, we forget we can actually choose a different one, a different feeling.
Exactly.
That's where it all starts, huh?
That's where the transformation begins.
Peale takes this even further with prayer power.
Right.
And it's not just about saying some words, right? He's talking about, like, tapping into some source of energy, a source of solutions.
Yeah, he compares it to recharging a battery.
Oh, interesting.
Like you're accessing this hidden power reserve you didn't even know you had.
I like that.
And he gives this example of a baseball pitcher who's playing in this crazy heat. And he's losing pounds just from the exertion, you know?
Wow.
So where does prayer come in?
Yeah, how does that work?
He talks about prayerizing, picturing, and actualizing.
Okay.
3 steps.
Got it.
And he tells this amazing story about this woman whose husband is about to leave her.
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
It is.
So what does she do?
Well, she starts by prayerizing.
Okay.
Pouring her heart out.
Yeah.
Asking for help and strength.
Yeah.
And then she starts picturing her husband back home. Happy, committed.
Okay.
She holds on to that image every night for 90 days.
90 days. That's incredible.
I know, right?
That's commitment.
It is.
Yeah. So what happens on day 90?
Well, her husband comes over, expecting a fight. But instead of, like, anger or desperation, she's calm, strong. It totally throws him off guard.
He wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
It's like her inner work, it changed how she showed up in the situation.
Totally. And it shifted everything.
And he came back.
He did. It's amazing.
It's like that saying, what you think you become.
Yeah.
It's like her focus, her faith, it created a new reality.
That's exactly what Peale would say.
Wow.
And he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
Yeah.
He's got a whole chapter on overcoming obstacles.
What does he call it?
He calls it the I don't believe in defeat attitude.
So instead of getting stuck on the problem, he's saying we need to focus on our ability to overcome it.
Exactly. He says dwelling on the obstacle just makes it bigger.
Right.
But focusing on your ability to rise above it, that's where the power is.
Interesting.
And he tells this story about a guy who carries a wallet with the words, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, inscribed on it.
Not just a quote, like a mantra.
Right, a source of strength.
He really believed in it.
He did.
And Peale takes it even further, right?
Yeah, he says we need to get rid of those little negatives, in our language, our thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, instead of saying, this is going to be a terrible day, say, this is going to be a glorious day.
Wow. So it's like actively choosing the positive, even when things are tough.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got positive thinking, prayer power, not giving in to defeat. But what about when worries and problems creep in?
Oh, yeah, we all have those.
Does Peale have anything to say about that?
He does. He calls worry a choking force.
Interesting.
We call it stress and anxiety now.
Right.
But he was on to something.
He was ahead of his time.
He was.
So it's a solution.
He has this technique called mind drainage.
Mind drainage. Okay.
It's like picturing your worries flowing out of your mind.
I like that.
Like water draining from a sink.
It's actively releasing those anxieties instead of letting them build up. Any examples of this?
Yeah.
Like in real life?
Yeah. He tells a story about this busy executive who always brought his work stress home.
I know that feeling.
Right. So Peale tells him to picture putting all his worries and unfinished tasks into a box.
Okay.
And he labels it finished business.
At the end of the day.
Every day.
Like creating a boundary between work and life.
Exactly.
So you can hit pause on those anxieties.
Yeah.
So they don't take over your free time.
That's it.
And Peale says that helps you solve problems better.
He does. He says when you manage your worry, you can think more clearly, you can be more creative.
Okay, so this is where Peale gets really fascinating.
Yeah.
He starts talking about faith and physical well-being.
Right.
Like our bodies and our spirits are connected.
The mind-body connection.
Exactly. And we're just starting to understand that better now.
We are.
But Peale was already talking about it back then.
He was way ahead of his time.
And he tells a story about a doctor, right?
He does.
Whose sister's really sick.
Yeah, a life-threatening intestinal obstruction.
And this doctor, he's a man of science.
Yeah, he is.
But he prays for his sister.
He does, fervently.
And what happens?
She makes this sudden, unexpected recovery.
Wow. Even when the doctors didn't think she would.
It's amazing.
So Peale's not saying ditch the doctors.
No, not at all.
But that faith can work alongside medicine.
They can work together.
And he gives like 5 key factors for healing through faith. Right?
He does.
Surrendering, letting go of negativity, believing in both medicine and faith, accepting whatever happens, and having unwavering faith in that higher power to heal. So it's not just hoping for a miracle.
Right.
It's being active in your well-being.
On every level.
Physically, spiritually.
Yeah, exactly.
But then Peale brings us back down to earth.
He does.
There's a chapter on inflow of new thoughts.
It's like he's saying, okay, you've cleaned out the negativity, you've embraced faith, now let's fill your mind with fresh ideas.
I love that.
It's like giving your mind fresh air.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And he tells that incredible story about the Guideposts magazine fire.
Oh, yeah, the one where they lost everything.
Everything. Their subscriber list, everything.
It was devastating.
It was.
They were facing financial ruin.
And then this woman comes up to Peale.
And says, I can't give you money, but I can give you an idea.
Wow.
And that idea,
yeah,
it ends up being more valuable than any amount of money.
Talk about a turning point.
I know, right?
It's like sometimes what seems like a loss can lead to something even better.
Absolutely.
It's all about being open to new possibilities.
That's it.
Even when it seems like you've lost everything.
Even then.
And then there's that story about the young man who's struggling with everything.
Oh, right. His job, his relationships, everything.
Yeah. And he finally realizes that his own negative thinking is the problem.
He was trapped in this cycle of negativity.
Yeah.
But once he saw it,
he could break free.
Exactly.
So what happened? He changed his mindset, embraced faith, and then what?
His whole life transformed.
That way.
His work got better, his relationships improved, he found peace and happiness.
It's amazing what happens when we change our inner world.
It really is.
Speaking of changing our inner world, Peale talks about relaxation, right?
He does. He calls it the key to easy power.
Easy power. I like that.
Yeah. And it's so relevant today with everyone being so busy and stressed.
Totally.
Peale was ahead of his time, realizing how dangerous chronic stress is.
And he had this idea of easy does it.
Right. Slowing down, conserving your energy, reducing tension.
Like slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly.
And he uses Branch Rickey as an example.
Oh, the baseball executive.
Yeah, he was known for his slow, deliberate approach.
And he was incredibly successful.
It's like Peale saying you don't have to be on all the time to achieve great things.
You don't.
Relaxation is key.
It's essential.
And he even have a 3-point program for relaxation.
Oh, yeah. What are they again?
Sunbathing, peaceful thinking, and connecting with a higher power.
Right. So it's about nature calming your mind and nurturing your spirit.
And he believes that helps you work better and live more joyfully.
He does.
It's like recharging your batteries.
Yeah.
So you can show up more fully in life.
That's the idea.
But Peale doesn't stop there.
What else does he talk about?
He goes on to a topic I think is so relevant today.
Oh, yeah.
How to get people to like you.
Interesting.
And it's not about manipulation or anything like that.
No, what is it about then?
It's about genuine connections.
Okay.
Heart-to-heart connections.
I like that.
He even ties this to health and well-being.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he talks about this doctor who observed that lonely people were often sick.
Wow, that makes you think.
It does.
Like, we need connection.
We need to feel needed and valued.
To be healthy.
Exactly.
And he talks about this woman who always felt unlikable.
Oh, that's sad.
That is.
Like she had these negative messages from her past.
She did.
And they stuck with her.
They did, and it made her shy, withdrawn.
But Peale believes she could overcome those beliefs.
He did. He worked with her to change her thoughts.
Okay.
He had her use affirmations of self-worth.
So she started seeing herself differently.
Yes. And guess what?
People started seeing her differently too.
Exactly.
Like her inner transformation changed how she interacted with the world.
And she started making real friends.
Wow.
She experienced connection like she never thought possible.
That's amazing.
It is.
And Peale also talks about being genuinely interested in others.
Oh, I like that.
He observed this in a politician named James Farley.
Okay.
Who was just incredible at connecting with people.
What was his secret?
He was genuinely delighted to meet every single person.
Wow, that's special.
It wasn't about their status or anything like that.
It's just pure interest.
Yeah. And Peale suggests focusing on the positive aspects of others.
Okay.
He tells a story about this guy who was always annoyed by his coworkers.
Oh, we all know someone like that.
Right. But Peale challenges him to find at least one good quality in each coworker.
To focus on that.
Yeah, and it changes his whole perception.
It's like retraining your brain to focus on the good.
I like that.
Yeah.
And Peale says you don't have to be perfect to be likable.
Oh, that's good to hear.
He tells the story about this man who was constantly criticizing himself.
Oh, no.
He was focused on his flaws.
Yeah.
And Peale encourages him to be more forgiving.
To focus on his strengths instead.
And what happens?
He becomes more comfortable around other people.
So it's like self-acceptance is key to connecting with others.
That's a great way to put it.
And to wrap it up, Peale gives 10 rules for building better relationships.
Oh, like what?
Remembering names, listening, forgiving, giving compliments, stuff like that.
Practical stuff.
Yeah, being intentional in your interactions.
And focusing on the positive.
Exactly.
It's all a reflection of our inner state, isn't it?
It really is.
How we treat others, how we see ourselves.
It all comes back to that inner world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but life isn't always easy, right?
No, it isn't.
How does Peale deal with the tough times like heartache and loss?
Well, he's got a chapter called Prescription for Heartache.
Okay.
And he acknowledges that pain and loss, they're just part of life.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And he gives us some advice on how to get through those times.
So what's his approach? Does he say just toughen up?
No, actually, he starts by saying it's important to grieve.
To let yourself feel those emotions.
Exactly.
Not bottle them up.
Not at all.
That's the opposite of what we usually hear.
I know, right?
Like, be strong, don't cry.
Yeah, but Peale says true strength is acknowledging your vulnerability.
To feel the full range of human emotions.
Yes.
So it's okay to cry.
It is. It's natural.
And he says we don't have to go through these things alone.
We don't.
I need support.
From loved ones, our communities, professionals.
Yeah, people who can help.
Exactly.
So it's about letting yourself be vulnerable and asking for help.
Yes.
But he doesn't stop there, does he?
No, he says we need to find meaning in our experiences.
Even the painful ones.
Especially the painful ones.
That can be hard.
It can.
But he's saying look for the lessons.
The growth that comes from it. The ways those experiences can help others.
Like finding those silver linings.
Exactly.
Even in the dark times.
That's it.
And of course, Peale being a man of faith,
yeah,
he points us towards a higher power.
To find comfort and strength.
Because our beliefs can be a source of resilience.
Absolutely.
And that leads us to the last chapter.
The final one.
How to draw upon that higher power.
It's like the culmination of everything he's been talking about.
It really is.
It's like a call to action.
Yeah, to tap into that strength and guidance.
That he believes is within us all.
I'm really intrigued by this. What are some of the takeaways?
Well, he starts with a story about a group of men who are feeling lost, defeated, hopeless. And one man who's been through a lot himself.
Yeah.
He challenges them.
To do what?
To draw upon that higher power.
And this guy, he had overcome addiction, right?
He had, through his faith.
So he knew what he was talking about.
It did. He'd experienced it firsthand.
The power of surrender.
Exactly.
And his words, they impact another man in the group.
They do, this guy who's battling his own demons.
And it's a turning point for him.
It is.
What does he do?
He takes his friend's advice.
Okay.
Starts going to AA meetings. And he starts exploring his spirituality.
Wow. And he overcomes his addiction.
He does.
That's powerful.
It is.
So it's not just about addiction, right?
No.
It's about finding that inner strength.
To face any challenge.
And Peale believes everyone has that power.
He does, if we're open to it.
So how do we tap into it? What are the steps?
He says, cultivate a relationship with a higher power.
Oh, okay.
Practice prayer and meditation. Live by your values.
Like aligning your inner and outer world.
Exactly.
And remembering that we're not alone.
We're not.
It's amazing how relevant Peale's message still is.
It's timeless.
It really is.
It's a message of hope, empowerment, and the potential of the human spirit.
I love that.
It's powerful stuff.
So as we wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into the power of positive thinking, what are some things you want our listeners to think about?
I think the biggest thing is we have more power than we realize.
To shape our own reality.
Yes, it starts with our thoughts, our beliefs, our willingness to tap into something greater.
And when we align our minds and hearts with a positive vision, we can create real change in our lives.
Absolutely.
Wow. So much to think about.
There is.
And we'll explore even more of Peale's wisdom in part 2.
We will. So, Peale also gets into some pretty heavy stuff, too.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, he's got this chapter called Prescription for Heartache.
Okay, Prescription for Heartache.
And he talked about pain and loss, how they're just part of life.
Yeah, they are.
And he actually gives us some advice on, how to handle those really rough times.
I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
Because it's such a tough subject.
It is.
Does he tell us to, just grin and bear it? Or what's his take?
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah.
He actually starts by saying that it's really important to let yourself grieve. Truly express your emotions.
Not just bottle them up.
No way.
That's so interesting because it's like the opposite of what we're always told,
I know, right.
Be strong, don't cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Put you down, all that.
Yeah.
But Peale's saying something different.
He is.
What's he saying?
He's saying true strength comes from acknowledging how you feel.
Like being vulnerable.
Exactly.
To feel all those emotions, the whole range.
Yeah, the sadness, the tears, it's all okay.
It's all part of it.
It's natural.
Yeah.
And he makes this other really important point.
What's that?
He says, we don't have to go through these things alone.
Oh, that's so crucial.
It is.
Having that support system.
It makes all the difference.
It really does.
He says we need to rely on our loved ones, our community, even professionals.
Yeah.
People who can give us support and guidance.
So it's about recognizing when you need help.
Yeah.
And reaching out.
Exactly.
But he doesn't just stop at coping, does he?
No, he doesn't.
What else does he say?
Well, he talks about this idea of finding meaning.
Meaning?
Yeah, finding meaning in those experiences.
Even the hard ones.
Especially the hard ones, the painful ones.
That can be really difficult.
It can be, I know.
When you're in the midst of it all?
Yeah, but he says try to look for the lessons,
right.
The growth that comes from those tough times, the ways those experiences can help others.
So it's like looking for those silver linings.
Yeah.
Even when things are dark.
That's it.
And of course, Peale, being a man of faith, he points us towards something bigger. Towards that higher power.
To find comfort.
And strength.
And resilience.
Because what we believe can really help us through those times.
It can, absolutely.
And that brings us to the last chapter.
Oh, wow, the final one.
Yeah. How to draw upon that higher power.
It feels like everything's been building to this.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the culmination of everything he's been talking about.
So how does he describe this process of drawing upon that higher power?
Well, he tells this story about a group of men who are feeling really down.
Oh, no.
Yeah, defeated and hopeless. And there's this one man who's been through a lot himself.
Okay.
And he says to the group...
What does he say?
He says, draw upon that higher power.
And this guy, he had overcome addiction, right?
He had, through his faith.
So he was speaking from experience.
Oh, yeah. He knew what he was talking about.
He'd been there.
He had.
He understood the power of surrender.
Exactly.
And his words, they really hit one of the men in the group.
They do.
This guy who's battling his own demons.
Yeah, and it's like a turning point for him.
Really?
It is. He takes his friend's advice.
Okay.
And starts going to those AA meetings. And starts exploring his own spirituality.
Wow, so he's really taken it to heart.
He is.
And does he overcome his addiction?
He does.
That's incredible.
It is. He turns his whole life around.
It's a testament to, that power.
It really is.
And it's not just about addiction.
No, not at all.
It's about finding that strength within.
To face any challenge.
Peale believes we all have that power.
We do. He says it's there if we're open to it.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we tap into that higher power?
He says to start by building a relationship with it.
Okay.
Make it personal.
Okay.
Through prayer, meditation, and living by your values.
It's that alignment again, right?
Yes, exactly.
Inner and outer worlds.
And remembering that we're not alone in this.
We're not.
There's support out there.
Peale's message is so timeless.
It really is.
It resonates even today.
It's a message of hope, empowerment, the potential of the human spirit.
I love that.
It's powerful stuff.
So much to ponder.
There is.
Now, before we move on,
yeah,
is there anything else from this chapter that you think would be good for our listener to think about?
Yeah, actually there is.
Okay, tell me about it.
Peale tells this other story.
Okay.
About a man named Charles.
Charles, okay.
And Charles had this terrible fear of death.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it consumed him.
Isn't it a heavy thing to carry around?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And it prevented him from, truly living.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he couldn't enjoy life because he was so afraid.
So what happened to Charles?
Well, one day, he gets really sick.
Oh, no.
Yeah, critically ill.
Okay.
The doctors had given up.
Wow.
And Charles, he was convinced he was dying.
So what happened then?
Well, in that moment,
yeah,
he has this profound experience.
Okay.
He sees these beautiful lights, kind faces, and he feels this incredible peace.
Wow.
Unlike anything he'd ever known.
Sounds like a near-death experience.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He felt totally free from fear.
Wow.
And he didn't even want to come back.
Really?
No. But
Yeah.
then a doctor comes in.
Yeah.
And decides to give him one last shot.
And that brings him back.
It does.
Wow.
He makes a full recovery.
That's amazing.
It is.
So he basically gets a glimpse of the afterlife.
Yeah.
And it changes his whole perspective on death.
Completely. His fear is gone.
Just like that.
Just like that.
It's incredible.
It is.
It's like that experience opened him up to something beyond this world.
It did. And Peale says we don't have to have a near-death experience to get that.
Oh, really?
No. He says it's available to all of us.
Right now.
Right here, right now.
That's pretty empowering.
It is.
It's like Peale saying you have the power within you to find that peace.
Exactly.
To overcome your fears.
Yeah.
Wow. So much to think about.
There is. Peale's work is just full of these amazing stories.
It is.
And practical advice.
For living a better life.
For finding that strength within.
All right. So as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into the power of positive thinking, I'm going to bring it back to our listener for a moment. Okay. Have any of these stories resonated with you? What's standing out? We've been on quite a journey with Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking.
We have.
From our thoughts shaping reality to the power of faith, relaxation, relationships.
It's all connected.
Peale had some amazing insights.
He did.
And they're just as relevant today.
They really are. His work is like a timeless guide.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And those stories,
They
really bring it all to life.
They do.
Like that woman who saved her marriage.
Oh, yeah. By changing her mindset.
Exactly.
And her actions.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
And that doctor who saw the power of faith firsthand.
Right, with his sister's healing.
It's like Peale saying, look, this stuff works.
He's showing us, not just telling us.
You can do it too.
Exactly.
It's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about having the tools to deal with life.
Yeah, to navigate the ups and downs.
With grace and resilience.
And purpose.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to turn it over to you, the listener.
Okay.
What really resonated with you during this exploration?
What stood out?
What sparked a new thought?
Maybe it was the idea that we have more power than we think.
Yeah. To shape our own lives.
By changing how we think.
Maybe it was the power of faith.
That strength we can tap into.
When we need it most.
Exactly.
Or those practical tips.
For dealing with worry and stress.
Overcoming challenges.
Building relationships.
We hope you're feeling inspired.
Empowered.
And hopeful about the future.
Because ultimately,
Peale's message is one of hope.
Yeah.
Of the amazing potential we all have.
That's at the heart of it all.
We're capable of so much more
than we often realize.
So here's a final thought for you.
Okay.
What small change can you make today?
To shift towards that positive mindset.
To embrace faith and empowerment.
Maybe start your day with gratitude.
Replace negative thoughts with positive ones.
Take a few minutes to connect with that higher power.
Whatever it is, take action.
Put these principles into practice.
See what happens.
The journey never ends.
It's a continuous process
of growth and discovery.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive
into the power of positive thinking.
We hope you gain some valuable insights.
And we'll carry this inspiration with you.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive
into a new and thought-provoking topic.
Until then, keep learning,
keep growing,
and keep believing in that amazing power within you.